mid-range, or green-white with a small red splash. You can see here, our only main deck red card is Aurelia. And then we've got a couple of Tajiks in the sideboard, it looks like. So kind of like green-white stuff. We got an interesting curve here at the bottom, kind of non-committal on the twos. When I look at this deck list to start, the one thing that jumps out at me, hey, Kung Fu Fish Cake, thank you very much for the brand new Prime support, welcome. The one thing that jumps out at me when looking at this deck list to start is that I'm not sure I understand why Pelt Collector is in here. Like, I see the appeal of wanting a bunch of one drops in your deck, but like, this deck doesn't have a lot of good things to increase Pelt Collector with, right? Like, we've got 2 power things, and like, we've got 2 drops that have 1 power, and like 3 drops with 2 power. So I like to play at least 1 match with the deck before making any changes to it, but I'm kind of fully expecting these Pelt Collectors to be super underwhelming. So like, Adanto and Thorn Lieutenant are better in different ways, right? So like, Adanto is obviously better against some removal and sweepers, whereas Thorn Lieutenant is a little bit beefier on blocking, and it's also better against things like Moment of Craving and stuff of that nature. Yeah, I had my ordering wrong, Mean Bean, so we're gonna close out with Mill today. I'm gonna do this one second, or second to last. I don't think so, Jesse. So this format has a lot of like other mid-range decks in it, and those stats on a creature like that just really aren't good enough as far as like rates go against the other fair decks in the format. Yeah, Thorn Lieutenant also is something that scales into the late game. That's kind of a mana sink of sorts. No blocks. Yeah, looks like likely Drakes. That's the primary Goblin Electromancer deck in the format. 1 mana Divination. Rude. "13 months is a long time." Thank you, Johnny Redeem, for renewing. Welcome back. Do we play History a turn off so we can capitalize on the Tristani pump? No, I don't think that's necessary. I think like getting History going ASAP is also valuable, like this Conclave Tribunal. So like my next turn, this turn's, well, this is about to be really good. So I get to do this. I get to play Flower, so I can guaranteed hit Tristani next turn. And then I can play Emmara. And then I can Conclave Tribunal off of this, and this. And then I can take the Drake and attack for 3. This is a pretty impressive start. Pretty okay turn 4. This card's been really impressive in Standard in a lot of these white-based mid-range decks. Just like having this random like free spell is very potent. Thoughts on Protein Raider in the sideboard of Izzet Drakes? I don't know what that card does. You seem to have a sword here, Johnny. Do you feel like playing the land we got from Flower is a slight optimization? Sure. You are correct that it is technically correct to play the land that they know about. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, though. He's dead, Jim. It's the Shapeshifter Pirate. Oh, that's the Raid one, right? Like, Raid, it's a clone. That's cute. Maybe that's fine. I could see that being okay. I only have 1 bird here, which means this Tristani is probably going to put them in the ground. Apparently, Magic Online no longer has chat. Not sure there's an opt-in available somewhere I'm missing. That's awesome. Quasi-duplicate only targets your things. So I think if they block here, I'm just going to let these trade off, because the only way we lose this game is by losing the race at this point. So I just want to keep my health total high. There's no reason to pay 4 when they're very dead on board next turn anyways. Yeah, clone effects don't target because they're a replacement effect as the card enters the battlefield. Yeah, Rabbit. It's one of the many things that makes Arena far more accessible than Magic Online when it comes to streaming. Alright, well, you got your stunning. And you're still dead on board? Yep. You should be able to click on their exile zone, I believe. Lyra sounds great here. More Conclave Tribunal sounds great here. That doesn't seem very good. Knight of Autumn doesn't seem great. This card is not fantastic. Something like this is probably ideal for matches where the board builds up really large. Is Shalai good? Like, Shalai's like a card that just like randomly eats their what's it called? She randomly eats their lava coils, but I guess curving Shalai into Lyra is really good. Morale booster. Thank you for the brand new Twitch Prime support. That definitely boosts my morale. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Tajik turns off lava. That's actually really interesting, right? Like, this curve into this demands an extra answer. I like that. And I guess she blocks Phoenixes nicely. Since I'm bringing in extra tribunals, I'm going to trim Venerated Loxodon. Is there a moment in my career that affected me the most? If so, what was that moment? You mean like in my Magic career or my streaming career? Like I guess they're kind of intertwined, right? The reason why I stream now is because I played Magic previously. The turning point for me as a Magic player was probably the SCG Invitational at the end of 2016, where I lost playing for day 2, which meant I missed Player of the Year after playing in almost every Open in 2016. Caused me to take a step back and reevaluate playing Paper Magic. Kind of got burnt out on it a little bit at the end. When Magic stops being fun, you should take a step back and reevaluate while you're doing it. And that moment definitely, like the last few events I played at the end of 2016 were definitely like burnout. I'm not quite sure why I'm doing this because I stopped enjoying it a couple of weeks ago. It's kind of just like pot committed to playing Magic tournaments at that point, so I pushed myself in to continue going. Yeah, the Tajik Shalai curve is nice. Boom boom. There might be something to this History of Benalia card. You already talked about the open letters to the pros. I tweeted about it today. I thought it was very well put together, and that open letter, in a lot of ways, articulated well while using data to back up things that I felt. Like, the reason that there isn't more money in playing competitive Magic is competitive Magic doesn't make that much money. Like, I think a lot of people think that, like, competitive Magic is this huge thing, when in reality, the people who play competitive Magic are a very small minority of the actual people who, like, put money into Magic the Gathering. So do I History of Benalia this turn, or do I Conclave Tribunal? I feel like I'm on the back foot and need to just be defensive here. And just, like, can't take another hit from this bird. How do you feel about the blue-red Arclight deck? I think it's fine. I don't know that it's doing anything objectively linear or busted enough to be really successful long-term. See if they have a Drake here or not. I'm probably just supposed to Tribunal this one as well. What was the open letter? This educated person, they have like they're an author and they have like a PhD in English. They played Magic for a long time. They kind of went through the history of like what competitive Magic was when it was a little bit bigger and had more things invested into it, and then gave reasons and cited sources for like why competitive Magic has been scaled back in recent years, even though Magic itself is much larger. So like Magic's growing, but competitive Magic hasn't been growing along with it. And this letter talked about why that's likely the case. Hey, Delta, thanks for the 2-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, that's the link there. Big Kitty Fans link is correct. Well, if their hand is all answers, we could maybe run the distance with this lifelink creature. Is there any reason you switched your standard day this week? Yeah, Moto had 9 hours of scheduled downtime today. It sounds like it came back up a little bit early, but it was scheduled off. That's why I did Modern on Sunday. So I was live for like 7 hours on Sunday doing Modern. And then obviously I'm off for the rest of the week with the SUGCon. Do pro teams do... I'm not sure, I think you're missing a word. Do pro teams, so I sponsor, pay WotC, or do their team play, or do they get free advertising for playing their players on camera? I'm not sure. There's some words missing in that sentence, Bloody Word. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to convey. Are you asking, like, how they get paid? The article also states that Arena will be the way to play competitive Magic in the future. I think if the people making decisions at WotC have brains in their heads, that Arena will 100% be the future of competitive Magic. Arena is awesome, it's accessible, and it makes... It solves a lot of the problems that Magic can have. There's no arguing about the rules because the application automates the rules. I'm sure we'll have to hear all about someone misclicking and losing because they misclicked, but that's a different story. Alex Bertoncini can play Magic and not cheat. No shuffling, no loading screens, like... I mean, getting got because you didn't know the rules of the game is 100% your fault as well, but it doesn't stop people from complaining about the rules of the game. For those of you that are new to Magic, the only thing Magic players like more than playing Magic is complaining about Magic, so there's always going to be something. Eggs are good. Thank you for the 7 months. Thank you for reminding me about wine. Just set up Arena on my Mac and loving it. Awesome. Yeah, I've been playing Arena from Linux since like day one. Works great. So do you think they will dial down paper tournaments and then just start streaming Arena for huge tournaments? I think so, Johan. I think we're going to see a gradual change as they lean into it. But I definitely think that like Arena tournaments are the future of Magic. And like the thing people need to remember is that when I talk about Arena being the future of competitive Magic, people are always like pop up and they're like, well, does that mean paper Magic is doomed and dying? Competitive Magic has, hey, the Gug, thanks for the brand new Prime support. Welcome, welcome. Competitive Magic has never been the focus of paper. Casual paper Magic has always been the focus of paper. Casual has always far outweighed what competitives are. Lots of people are afraid of change, Neil. You're not alone. Thorn Lieutenant looking pretty good here, by the way. Looking much better than Adanto Vanguard for the record. Oh man, are we dead? Oh, there's a shock in our future. Close game. Tournaments would lose the timer system. Why would they lose the timer system? The timer system is one of the single best things about Magic Arena. The fact that people get punished when they're slow play is fantastic. Obviously, they would need to adjust some things so that, like, I'm gonna bring these in to gain some life. Obviously, we need to adjust some things to, like, get Thousand Year Storm and decks like that to the point of being playable. But people getting punished for not playing fast enough is A+. Where would I want it to start? Ixalan. I hope the new non-rotating format, when it happens, starts with this current standard format. This current standard format is fantastic. So I got kind of punished here. I chose not to shock and play Flower on 1, which means when I draw this 3-drop here, I can't play 3-drop into 4-drop unless I rip a land. But I think it's right to not shock myself there. Every point of health really matters in a matchup like this. What would you recommend for a solution to infinite loops and shortcuts that seem only possible on paper? Don't print them into standard. Don't put infinite combos in standard. It's like really simple. Yeah, Modern on Arena is a huge undertaking, and anybody that doesn't understand that should probably... Anybody with even a relatively small programming background will understand how complicated it is. It didn't show me upgrading to a tier 2. McCarver, thank you for the upgrade. I appreciate it. Be sure to drop me a message and let me know which deck in the queue you'd like to bump up. As always, my tier 2s support me extra. So here's the thing. They might not want Modern on Arena, not only just because of the amount of work it would take to get Modern onto Arena, but because part of the reason Magic Online is clunky in a lot of ways is because it tries to deal with a lot of these interactions that just were never intended for digital. There are a lot of interactions in Modern that are tedious and awkward and terrible in digital. Which is why when the new format starts, I kind of hope it starts with a set that was digital focused. So that way, as the game progresses and grows, like as the format grows, it's always going to have been built with digital in mind. Yeah, anybody who thinks you can just take code from Magic Online also doesn't understand programming. Magic Online's written in .NET. This application was written in Unity, which I believe is C#. I think Unity works in a couple different languages. I don't really think it's that complicated, Duo. You can put specific checks in your design files to make sure that doesn't happen, and you can ban those types of interactions when they come up. You cannot have tournament feature matches use a different client or a different game mode than the rest of the tournament. It makes having a feature match a competitive advantage or disadvantage depending on who you are, which is an important thing. From a competitive integrity standpoint, you can't have feature matches be different from the rest of the tournament. I mean, this Pelt Collector is about to be kind of good, huh? We're gonna do this, into this, into this. Python is my favorite programming language. Python's great. There is not currently a spectator function in Arena. That's something they definitely need. It's hard to not love Python. It really is. So I get to Shalai, and then Aurelia will target herself and then mentor onto Pelt Collector here. So target yourself. Yep. The most powerful card in Magic Arena is your credit card. It will unlock the rest of them for you. Pelt Collector gains Trample when it hits 4 power. And a pretty good need a play set of credit cards. I'm pretty sure credit card is on the restricted list. It would be kind of imbalanced if you could play 4 of them. They're mostly dead, right? Yeah, this is actually just dead. They're taking 2 trample and then taking 5 here. And they can't shock any of these because there's... Okay, well, they could have lived here by dive downing this, but now they're gonna die because this says trample. They must have missed that this gains trample. Can I add my sub points to Esper Dirta? Definitely, Delta. Hey, Zemik, thank you for the brand new Twitch Prime support. Welcome. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch. Thanks for supporting mine. That felt really good. Aurelia was good there. Like, the question when you're playing a deck like this is always like green-white tokens, mid-range, whatever you want to call it, is like an established archetype in the format, even if it's tier 2. And the question to is it worth being Naya is the payoff we're getting from adding a card like Aurelia worthwhile? And it was really pretty good in that game. Decks that we've played today will still be listed in the deck queue. I delete them from the deck queue once I get them uploaded to YouTube. So since you're a sub on the channel, Greg, if you would like to watch the Green-Red Frenzy deck as opposed to the live stream now, if you click back into my past Twitch videos, you can watch the archive for today already. Sand is fine. Like, not amazing, but fine. I get to do this, and I get to go grab a forest here. Hey, Korlash Gur, thank you for the brand new Prime support. Welcome, welcome. New subs, be sure you pop into the Discord server as well. It can take up to an hour to sync sometimes, but we chat about Magic and all sorts of stuff in there. Yeah, I bumped Pirates off today, Johnny. A couple of these decks were just really sweet and they ran long, and I'm pretty happy with my Pirates list for the weekend. Yeah, we played a little bit of Naya tokens with heroic reinforcements. It seemed really sweet. This deck that we're playing right now isn't a full tokens deck necessarily. I think I'm just doing this. Is the Pirates updated on the website? It is. Yeah, I updated it yesterday after we finished streaming. Usually try and keep that relatively updated. Ugh. Can I use my tier 3 sub to bump your choice of modern deck? Definitely, Mr. Fat Pickle. That's my favorite kind of bump. If you're okay with that, I'd like to bump Adzan mid-range with my tier 2. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And those don't get bumped in real time. I don't do it mid-stream, but they'll get bumped later tonight. Man, that's a 3-4. That's a 3-4. I guess I'm doing this and then this. Have some capitalism, bitch. Thank you, Neil Drox. The last time we played Vintage, the last time we played Vintage on stream, the queue didn't fire for 12 minutes and we dropped the league and did something else. So, like, Vintage just doesn't really fire on Magic Online. I mean, I don't know if y'all coordinated or if it was just like... Yeah, definitely, Mr. Heat. Or if it was just like, there were like 1,000 people that came in and decided they liked Esper Amulet today. But I'm going to bump Amulet to the top and then probably add it back in a second time. Because there was like $100 worth of bumps for Amulet today. And that deck is sweet. It's a lot of fun. Nice, Penguin. Yeah, I'm not really sure that we're gonna have much of a shot here. Feels like the opponent's deck's like trying to out mid-range green-black feels like a really losing battle. And this build of green-black is probably gonna be exceptionally hard for us because they have Doom Whisperer. I feel like our one real chance to beat green-black with an archetype like this is flying over the top of them, and Doom Whisperer prevents that. We throw this the second Esper Amulet deck if that's the case, definitely. Remember, I am going to... That was the, definitely the end of it. What is the Esper Amulet deck? The Esper Amulet deck you can find on my website. It's one of the many sweet decks that's up there. Like, Make a Stand doesn't even have a text box here. Like, Conclave Tribunal kind of sucks against their deck full of, like, enchantment removal, but I think I have to bring it in because, like, my only shot to win here is, like, being able to plow through them in the air. I'm gonna cut these because, like, my one drop's just really mediocre. These are, like, kind of annoying twos. Emmara doesn't really attack profitably in this matchup. I'm gonna leave Dauntless Bodyguard in because it'll protect my flyers on occasion. How did I function without a website previously? It was a lot of sending people to my YouTube channel. And I also, like, I haven't been doing this full-time for a long time, right? Like, it's December. We didn't put the kids in daycare until February of this year. So... only been streaming full time for like the better part of 10 months or so. This scene just doesn't do anything. It's like basically 6 lands. Well, that's a second land. I feel like these mid-range green-white decks are in kind of an awkward position in the format as a whole. While this format is very varied, I think it's succinct to say, or accurate to say, whatever we want to call it, that green-black and Jeskai control are the two most popular archetypes in this game, in the format currently, and this type of mid-rangey green-white really feels like it struggles against both those archetypes. Sounds good, Lost Thorgrave. I think I'm gonna adjust this deck in general in a hot second. The Pelt Collectors seem really mediocre. Put my kids in daycare. It's the best decision I've made. They're happier with new friends. I'm happier with more free time to get things done. And the daycare is happy with all the money. Daycare is not cheap in the United States. That's a 3-4 for 4. And I think we're dead. Let's push this around a little bit. Take a small adjustment. Yeah, my daycare cost for my 2 kids is like more than my mortgage by a factor of 2 currently. So it's not a small endeavor. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim this Storko. And I think I'm gonna round out the powerful 2-drops that we have. 22 lands and only 4 flowers. I think I'm gonna get the flower flourishes up to the full 4 here. How are there not 4 Sacred Foundries in this deck? That should definitely be a thing. Maybe I should look into a Nanny Draven. That's actually less than I pay for daycare. You say Esper Amulet or Bant Walls is more fun to play for you. If you like drawing magic cards, and I really like drawing magic cards. There really isn't better value than the Esper Amulet deck. Just gonna slide a Lyra into the main deck here too. What'd you say? You wanted to try removal? Oh, you know what? Seal Away's probably a card that's good for the sideboard. I like that card against Drakes. Seems fine. Maybe even just third Lyra. Alright, let's pop back in here, shall we? Update the stream deck and we'll be on our way. The decision made, just be whichever dragon. The animation on Arcades is A+++. It's very slick. If you're after the dragon animation, Draven, Arcades is the way to go. Scene seems sweet. Flower Flourish is good. Feel like there's any outstanding decks in the standard format. I guess it depends on what you mean by outstanding. So the best decks in this format, I think, are objectively green-black, Jeskai Control, and blue-red Drakes. However, which build of those decks is the best really isn't straightforward or clear. That was a phenomenal draw, so I get to curve Emmara into History of Benalia now, into Aurelia. This is a match concession? Maybe they had something come up? Emmara OP, please nerf. Dear Watsy, please nerf. Emmara leads to turn 2 wins. They knew our curve was the stones, chat. They knew they weren't going to be able to compete with the fire coming off the top of our deck. I mean, this hand's absurd. Man, I'm kind of upset if they're conceding the match. Our hands have been absurd both these games. Were they just, like, missing a color? They definitely didn't have a blue land last game. Maybe they're just, like, missing their third color and they wanted to like, move along with their lives. Yeah, I guess. I think they definitely had a green-black land last game, right? That's just good, clean value, bin chemisters insight. Yeah, I heard, Jackal Girl. I'm excited to no longer be harassed by people on Magic Online. Seems like a good quality of life improvement. Rude. I guess this Venerated Loxodon isn't doing anything for a while. I'm gonna be a little greedy. I'm gonna bin this and then try and keep this to play later. Time to teach our opponent a history lesson. I played Jeskai at a local BTQ. The deck seems like it cannot beat green-black. Karn is too hard. There's a lot of back and forth. I actually, in my experience playing Jeskai and playing green-black, I actually think Jeskai tends to be ahead against most green-black variations, but this standard format isn't built in such a way that ahead means you automatically win, like in formats like Modern, it often is the case. Thanks, Spartans. Oh yeah, that's right. My article did go up today. Speaking of Carney T, my article just went up. How late am I going today? I'm planning to go for another 3 hours or so, which I might get to another deck. If we have time, I'm going to sneak Pirates in at the end. Actually, we might have time. We have played this deck for almost 40 minutes already. See, the kids are homesick today, and Christy's upstairs with them, so I don't have to, like, stop at 3 o'clock to get Jake off the bus. Rude. We now understand why they left us History of Benalia. That answers that question. Well, unless the other one really wants to go to school, if one's homesick, we usually just let them both stay at home. Because usually if one's sick, that means the other one's going to be sick. That's just like how it works. I'm gonna like douse myself in sanitary cleanser for the next half a day before I fly out to the Invitational. Maybe if I can avoid getting it before we start, I can like disappear for 5 days and not catch it. Do you already play Blue Mill? We have not. So if you're not familiar with my stream, the decks that are listed in the stream title still are ones that we have yet to play in the order I intend to play them in. The decks that we have already played, I remove from the stream title as we go. Try to stay pretty organized here. If you're interested in what those decks look like that are coming up, you can always find them in the deck queue on my website. Tacos are great. Who doesn't love tacos, right? I hope they just have like 6 counter spells in their hand. All right. Bring the dawn, baby. You feel Dimir control is pretty reasonable. So we actually played a blue-black mid-range deck today that had like 4 Thief of Sanity and 4 Hostage Taker in it, and that felt really good. Blue-black straight control has felt a little bit clunky and leaves a little bit to be desired, but having a little bit of a proactive element and a more mid-range strategy has felt pretty good. Unfortunately, they're going to get our Lyra into play next turn, so we're probably dead here. In the least rude way possible, I don't remember why you were timed out in Chian. Feel free to message me in private and tell me what you said that was removed, and I'd be happy to let you know why. I think we're dead, Jim. Yeah, we're just not gonna get to Risa Lyra here. Close game, almost got him. Yeah, I agree. The sagas kind of feel like less obnoxious planeswalkers in a lot of ways. Like, they build up to this ultimate, and then, like, it has, like, this thing that happens, but it doesn't just, like, end the game, but it has this meaningful effect. It's fine, right? Flower gets me a green swords. We're off to the races. I feel many aren't at the right power level to rarity ratio. I mean, like, so long as they're not busted, who cares, right? Like, I guess for limited that matters, but I don't really care about limited personally. Second Lieutenant. Lieutenant's a great threat here because it doesn't die to Moment of Craving, it doesn't die to Golden Demise. However, both Lieutenants will die to a Ritual of Soot. In general, Chian, I am against supporting people who harm other members of our community. And if you're not sure what I'm referring to you by that, I would encourage you to do some research on the person you are talking about. I think because I have 3 threats in my hand here, I'm supposed to just jam my threats into their counter magic here, because, like, eventually something will stick, right? I'll lead on this one. How is Naya midrange? It's been okay. I don't know if it's been that fantastic. I'm not sure. My big problem with these Naya and green-white decks and red-white decks is it feels like the decks that don't have access, the decks that aren't super aggressive like red-white aggro and don't have access to black or blue spells really tend to struggle against Jeskai. I feel like you either need to be incredibly low to the ground or you need to have blue or black cards to be able to tango with the control decks. Is there any card in these colors that punishes me for playing this? None of their sweepers punish this, right? Like, it's good against Ritual of Soot. It's good against... I think I'm supposed to play this, right? Like, there's nothing in Sultai that punishes this. Hostage Shaker doesn't even punish this. I mean, counter spells don't punish. Like, they're dead on board. Like, removal spells don't punish because removal spells were going to impact my board anyways. So, like, my opponent's already dead on board, so I'm, like, trying to think of a way that, like, I overextend into something I'm not think about and get punished for playing another card out and get swept away. So basically, I'm like, can I add more to the board and still have them dead without something that goes, okay, you played this, now you're going to lose your board and this card. So there isn't something like Damnation or, you know, a Crux of Fate. Does anybody remember that one? I've played a lot of Crux of Fate. Modern cube cards. Yeah. I played some Crux with some Ojitais too in Standard. Cons for me personally, Cons of Tarkir was the last good Standard format before this current Standard format. So I have a lot of fond memories of random piles in that format. Yeah, I agree, Ulu. I kind of hope that we get some meaningful, like, green or like black X full sweeper, like a black red full sweeper or a black white full sweeper. I think I'm keeping this. Like, I'm on the draw, so I could just hit the land naturally, and like turn 2, if I don't hit the land naturally, I can like flower into play Dauntless Bodyguard. This is like a 2-lander, but like they're kind of like, it's kind of like 2 tap lands in a way. What do you think made Khan such a great Standard then? Just the diversity of answers and threats that were able to be played in it. A lot of the same things that make this current Standard format great. No, like Merciless Eviction is a good example. A card that requires both black and white mana. Basically a sweeper that can't go into every black deck, but can go into some of them. Yeah, that's true, Ozar. I agree. A black-red sweeper will go a long way for Angrath. My 2-1 not looking so hot against what looks to be green-white tokens. I do thankfully have 2 3s against their 2 2s, which is nice. I think I'm going to take this trade here if they offer it. this Dauntless Bodyguard isn't really doing anything, and I'd prefer they don't flip this Legion landing. So I want to cast this off of basic planes because I want to get another planes here, because double white is more important than double green to this deck. That's unfortunate for us. So this is free. Shame I didn't hit the land there. If I would have hit a land there, I could have played Adanto that turn too. We played or played against the Bant Fog Nexus deck. Actually, we played the Bant Fog Nexus deck a number of times, McCarver. It's one of the ones that's up on my website. I don't know that we're just dead. Depends on what their leftovers are here. Our hand's pretty good here, and like these are just gonna be 2/2s. So why not Knight of on him and take this draw? What does that accomplish? Like, I'd much rather take their 3/3 out of play than like kill their thing that's like already done the most important thing it's going to do, which is make the knights. Like, I don't really care about them pumping for a turn. Like, my health total's a resource. I can take the hit this turn, no problem. I think missing another land drop here is just lights out. Needed a light get to my 2/5. Worth noting that the opponent has a Clifftop Retreat in play, so there are probably heroic reinforcements or Aurelias hiding on our opponent's side of the table as well. Dauntless Bodyguard just continuing to be lackluster. Card seems really unimpressive. This card killing their History of Benalias seems potentially very good. Adanto Vanguard seems like it leaves a lot to be desired here. Going down to 7 2-drops makes Conclave Tribunal a little bit less good. What we substitute for Dauntless Bodyguard? I'm not sure. I'm really into like what this deck is doing. I feel like this deck is like playing a collection of like good magic cards, but I feel like it's like not doing anything that's inherently very powerful. And there's so many like really powerful things you can be doing in this standard format that I'm not sure like middling mid-range things is like something I want to sign up for. Hey, SPR, I'm glad you're enjoying it. The Pirates deck's a lot of fun. Pretty sure I'm playing the Pirates deck at the Invitational this weekend for the standard portion. Yeah, I agree, Sociopanger. I don't think like green-black mid-range is the only mid-range deck you can be playing, but I feel like the appeal to being in mid-range in this format has a lot to do with playing blue or black cards, because without blue or black cards, your mid-range decks are kind of just like DOA against most of the control decks that the format has going on. Yeah, I agree, Penza. And like cards like Thorn Lieutenant and Adanto Vanguard, for instance, they scale okay into the mid to late game, right? Like they have a kind of powerful effect on their own. Dead on Arrival, DOA. The Banefire deck was really sweet. I was not expecting that deck to be good, and it definitely exceeded expectations. That's great, Mattwood. The history into history curve is just so disgusting. It's definitely the best thing white decks can be doing in standard. really like to hit untapped land next turn so we can play Lyra Dawnbringer out and just like take to the skies. You have another Venerated Loxodon? This is aggressive. We're gonna punish them for being aggressive. Oh, wait. I want to tap the knight that's summoning sick. So do this, smack you for infinite. No, Emmara gets to attack after I Conclave Tribunal them. And she makes the guy when she attacks. So like they're at 3 and History of Benalia is popping again next turn because I had 2 of them. Sure. Hey, Lord Scred, thanks for the 10-month resub. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Man, I wish we would have hit the land this turn. If they have a March of the Multitudes, we're probably dead. I don't mind throwing away the Emmara here because she makes a token and I get to play the other Emmara post-combat. 2 months, many more to come. Covering, thank you for the 2-month resub. Welcome back. Yeah, math is for blockers. My opponent tries to figure it out, and then Magic Arena lets us know if they were correct. God bless. Board's about to get a lot smaller. So they're going to 2, and a bunch of things are going to die. Yeah, I think that's my big takeaway, Mortal, is that this deck feels like a worse version of the green-white tokens deck that we ended up splashing heroic reinforcements into. I feel like the payoffs we're getting for dipping into red in this deck end up just not being worthwhile. Pumping Thorn Lieutenant costs 6 mana. Yeah, we're super dead. Just let me concede! Yeah. If you enjoy tempo, you should build blue-black pirates. If you enjoy smorking and drawing cards, you should build elves. Yeah, I think my wrap-up, I'm gonna be done with this one. I think my wrap-up here is just, there's really no compelling reason to be in red with this deck is built, and if I wanted to build a green-white deck that's splashing into another color, I would focus on playing green-white tokens and adding heroic reinforcements to it. I wasn't sure if I was going to have time for pirates, but it's only 2 o'clock and I can stream till 5 today, so we're going to have time for pirates. I'm going to put that back on the menu. We'll wrap with some pirates. I need to run to the restroom really quick. And when I get back, we're going to play some blue-white mill. We are going to change this deck list a little bit and then play some blue-white mill, probably. This deck needs some actual sweepers in it before we play Magic. I'll be right back.